we've gotten back into working out, and we hit like 4 just ball-busting workouts this week, and I can barely move. So
possibly ovary busting as well.
Yeah. Yes.
I was gonna say, were they ball busting for her?
Pick your favorite. It was my wife who actually used the word, but pick your favorite tender bit, and it busted those.
Your favorite gonad.
Giblets. Giblet busting.
Whatever your non-gender specific giblet is.
Isn't it giblet?
Is it giblet? No, see, you're fucking Canadian. I'm not going to trust you on how to pronounce things.
I mean, we're the ones that have Thanksgiving first, so.
I think it's a giblet if it's attached, and it's a giblet if it's moved. I think that's the technical.
I would argue, but it makes perfect fucking sense to me. So.
Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 97 of Mythos Busters. I hope it is 97. I didn't do my normal thing where I check immediately before starting, so I think it's 97, and no one's corrected me yet. I'm Sean, and joining me tonight are my busters. We've got Nick.
Hello.
Hi, Nick.
Hi. How are you doing, Sean?
I'm pretty Friday. How about you?
Oh, I'm very Friday.
Oh, it's.
I'm almost a little freaky Friday.
Ooh, wow. Ooh, all right. Let's talk later. Compare notes.
You were talking earlier before we started, well, after we started recording, but before we started the show, you were talking about your new computer that you're getting set up. I also, as I'm sure we all have upgraded, made some upgrades to my PC. So I'm very excited because I have a new Yeti microphone,
nice.
Which you might be able to tell. I'm hoping that my voice sounds more silky smooth, but I don't know. I also I'm getting a new webcam soon, and I went out on a limb and ordered monitor stands. So my dual monitors are actually elevated off of my desk now.
Ooh, nice.
To give me more desk space.
Ooh.
And I would be lying if I said that decision wasn't made partially because of Achievement Hunter and running out of space while recording.
Yeah, I could see that being a thing.
It's exciting time.
Exciting times indeed. Joining us as well is Ian. Hey, Ian.
Oh, hello.
What's the most ridiculous purchase you've made recently?
Oh, that would be a 4K TV, which was
nice.
Not joking. I'd say more than half motivated by a desire to watch Lord of the Rings in 4K.
Well, of course, because you're a man of class and
like, I really didn't get on the hype for it at all, and then I kept seeing these articles about Lord of the Rings in 4K, and I was like, maybe I too should look into the world of 4K. Yeah, and I don't
really need to see every sweaty pore in Grima's face. Ian,
yeah.
Like...
Oh, you know, a movie I watched recently in 4K that was awesome though was Fury Road.
Ooh, that is.
Mm-hmm.
That is God's gift to action movies.
It really is.
I still haven't seen it.
No, you haven't? Really? Oh, you have to watch it.
We own it, and it's still in the cellophane. Like, we bought it one day, and I just... Because Laura has, like, she wants to, but she's just not, like, super excited about it. And so then that has just translated into me going, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it. And I just haven't gotten to it yet.
The next time you have, like, streaming paralysis, just remember that we've had this conversation and do yourself a favor and throw that movie in.
Oh, fair enough.
Joining as well is Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh man, it's been a wild ride, but I'm good.
Good. Well, you're still mid-move, right? You're in the process of picking up all your belongings and putting them in a different place entirely.
In literally 7 days from now, like Friday evening next week, I will be all moved into my new house.
Nice.
So the end is near in a good way. So
yes. Well, yeah. I mean, possibly in the bad way, too. A lot's happened in the last week.
Yeah. I am in healthcare, so... yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch
Yeah.
or before they spontaneously combust. Yeah. Anyway, so we've got a fun episode for you guys tonight. We're going to go through our normal catch-ups as we do. We've got a little bit of news to share, and then a very, very, at least I've been looking forward to it, a topic of discussion for our discussion topic. We are going to do another custom scenario brainstorming episode tonight, similar like we did that ultimately led to Consternation on the Constellation, and then of course we'll round it out with some Tentacle Time. But before we do any of that, I want to check in with you guys. It's been a good long while. We had some time off. I'm hoping everyone had the time to get some Arkham in. I know at least a couple people did, and a couple people recorded it, so let's talk about that first. Nick, what you been playing?
I suppose you could qualify what I did as Arkham. I guess that would fit the definition. It didn't feel like Arkham.
Or did it feel too much like Arkham?
No. So,
Nick decided to dabble in BDSM.
Engage me, Daddy.
I think that so a couple people have said, because I recorded another episode of Achievement Hunter that went up a couple weeks ago, and that contained, I think, 2 or 3 lost games, which of course is me playing Preston on Expert, The Gathering, which wouldn't be so bad, except for also it's pacifist, so I can't kill any ghouls. I can kill rats, just not ghouls. Mm-hmm. And those two things combined really puts me in a really tough spot, as anyone who's been listening to Achievement Hunter would know. So I recorded an episode, there was a couple failures in there, and then someone on chat in Discord, I can't remember who it was like, I think we need to stage an intervention for Nick. Preston obviously isn't working, he needs to try something else. And that was the first instance when it occurred to me that, like, oh yeah, I can change the investigator I'm playing. I can change this, how I'm approaching this game. So I was like, all right, I didn't have time to build another deck, so I recorded another episode just last night, and that'll be going up the week following when this episode goes up. So you'll
Is
have
it
that
more
to look
Preston?
forward to. It's more Preston, because I didn't have the opportunity to build a new deck yet. But I did have a brief discussion with you guys a couple weeks ago about who to look at. I'm leaning towards Agnes, because she'll have access to Mystic Cancel, and she'll have access to Survivor
Cancel.
Like, look what I found.
Also, yeah.
Survivor tools and tricks. Yeah, So, gosh, it's just the reason it's hard for me to put Preston down. It's not hard, but it's actually pretty easy right now. But it's difficult for me to want to break from Preston and try someone else, because when I record 3 games for one episode, usually one of those games I get pretty close. And it's just close enough for me to be like, oh, I can visualize the win. I can see it right there. So I'll just try again. But yeah, so that was all the Arkham that I played since we last recorded an episode. I recorded 2 episodes of Achievement Hunter. One of them's out, the other one will be out soon. And I hope they're entertaining, if nothing else.
I found them very entertaining.
I'm not fully caught up,
you,
but
Scott.
I've very much enjoyed what I've listened to so far.
Well, I'm sure the last 4 episodes are kind of a blur to everyone, myself included, because they're very similar in content.
I think it bears saying again, and I know we kind of said this last time we were talking around this area, I think there's value in showing the iterative process and not just showcasing your wins. Like,
Totally.
It's good to know, and it's good to be reminded that those of us who play this game incessantly also bash our heads up against the wall like everyone else.
Yeah, so that was fun. But unfortunately, like I said, that's all. I still haven't played past the disappearance of Alina Harper in Innsmouth. I have the next 2 packs, and I have War of the Outer Gods, which obviously I haven't touched for other reasons. But I'm totally caught up in owning the packs and having them sleeved and ready to go. I just haven't actually sat down to play them. So that's me.
Yeah. Cool. Ian, how about you?
My general Arkham, I haven't really busted out any like experimental decks recently, other than on Abandoned Alone, which I'll talk about in a second. But I've caught up with the campaigns I have going for Innsmouth up to Devil Reef so far, so I'm caught up on that. It's up for one campaign, my Silas, and now I can't remember who. Oh, Silence and Dexter. That campaign I still need to catch up. But yeah, I started a new campaign for Abandoned Alone with Winnie, going through Return to Forgotten Age, because that's the campaign I still don't have a full run through yet. Not for lack of trying. The campaign I had that I was playing through ended at City of Archives, so I guess technically I completed the campaign.
As it is wont to do.
Yeah. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this will be my first complete run through of Return to Forgotten Age. We'll see. But yeah, I'm giving Winnie a real good try as a solo investigator, because this is my first time running her solo, actually. I've played her two-handed so far. So first go doing running solo. Played through Untamed Wild so far. I won't spoil what happened. You can go listen to it. But the whole shtick of the deck is going to be trying out Sharpshooter. That's my experimental angle this time. So I'm looking forward to a card that's been discussed a lot. A card who many have kind of put in the pile of cool, but not maybe not worth the effort. But I'm going to put it through its paces and see whether that's true or not. More importantly, hopefully it'll just be fun. But yeah, so definitely having fun with Winnie so far, and I think she's encouraging me to fully embrace the YOLO lifestyle. That like every time I play through and I get to a point where I'm about to be stuck in like a little bit of an analyzing pause, I'm like, nope, just go for it. It's Winnie. So she helps break me out of that.
Like, oh god, that's what I love about playing Winnie. You just lean in, and then you lean in some more, and then you keep leaning in. Like, that's just the only way to play her, and it's so fun.
Sometimes you fall off a cliff, but it's okay. Just keep
well.
leaning. That's why you have a plane.
As daredevils are wont to do. There's a reason they make parachutes. Hopefully you brought one.
Yeah, and the
Cool.
only other Arkham just started Solo Gloria the other day through Innsmouth.
Oh, Solo Gloria is an entirely different game.
Definitely
It's a game of
is.
how many enemies can I bother not to see?
Yep.
Her special ability actually reads, skip the Mythos phase. Like,
It's just so much
They need to play
control. It's
Gloria.
crazy. Yeah.
Would recommend.
And I was actually motivated because I read through the Gloria novella recently, and for those who are not like me and not reading every single one, but maybe are more like, let me just read the ones that really sound good, that's one I'd recommend. I think that's probably my favorite one so far.
Damn, now I
pretty
have to
good.
read it. So you'd rank that in the top tier that have been released so far?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, not the one I would have expected to be excited to read, but
Yeah, me either.
I'm always glad for like a badass reboot of a character I'd written off as just kind of lame, which is sad to say, where Gloria has always kind of sat for me in the Mythos.
Yeah, one of the villains in the story is like genuinely creepy, so it's pretty cool.
Cool. Scott, how about you?
I believe I've played exactly 2 games since the last time we talked.
That's more
Just
than I
because-
expected, honestly.
Yeah. Well,
But it is
yeah.
you.
I mean, I think they were my only 2 games of gaming in the last month, just because of the move and stuff. But Casey and I, Mr. Trench, we caught up on our Innsmouth campaign and played the most 2 recent scenarios. And I think, no, we're up to Into Deep. Is that the one with all the 15 locations?
Yes,
Yeah.
they both have gigantic maps.
The barricades.
You set it all
The
up.
barricades, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, Les Miserables scenario. Yeah, and Silas and, oh goodness, what's her name? Amanda. And we had a harrowing finish in which one of us survived, and Amanda didn't because of a terrible last second. Like, it was the Mythos phase. I'm trying to skirt around spoilers here, but basically the way the map works, sometimes you can move directions. Sometimes the Mythos phase or encounter cards can move you in a direction you wouldn't normally be allowed to move. And the Mythos phase, right before we were gonna move resign, Amanda got hucked backwards. And,
yeah, that one. That one will hit hard.
into a pile of bad guys, and Silas was like, "Sorry, can't help you." Bye.
Bye.
Sometimes In Too Deep do be like that, though. I posted a picture on our social media of one of my games where just so many enemies, and they're hunting, and they're just around the corner, and you're like, oh my god, if I draw that token and fail, I am so hooped. Let's go with that. It's bad.
We spent a good 20 minutes though, analyzing, okay, if I do this and then you spend this, and just, is there any way we can just maybe Silas jumps in there and evades a bunch as best as he can, and then I have to evade a bunch next turn and then run out, and it just. But eventually,
when you sit there and do the damage control math, and you're like, "Is it worth it?"
Yeah, and or just even are there actions enough that I can do it? Okay, I've got my quick thinking, and if I could pass this one, and So I am loving this campaign.
Oh, it's really good. I had a play recently of In Too Deep where a certain encounter card would have brought 5 or 6 enemies on my head, and Sister Mary played is it Ward of Radiance, the one where you can cancel if you draw a bless?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so luckily she drew a bless, because that would have been game over right there.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this campaign. I'm finding it to be a little bit more stingy with the XP until later on. I've had good luck with Devil Reef, but up to that point, I feel like you have to fight for every XP in this campaign, more so than I've felt the same or that struggle in the past. But I don't know, maybe that's just me.
We also got spoiled by Dream Eaters, so
yeah,
it's so true.
Maybe I just don't notice it because I'm playing Silas. And Silas is like, sweet, 8 XP, full build, let's go.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah.
Or maybe I should just play Survivor. For my part, I have been a flush with Arkham. So I'll just kind of mention the highlights here. So I finished my Path to Carcosa game that I was playing with the kiddo. It went really well. I was able to use dissonant voices the whole way through, which was really cool. And actually take that for a pilot run. And we got to the final scenario. We got to Dim Carcosa. Very, very light Carcosa spoilers here, if anyone's abstaining.
I think we're safe.
Well, I wanted to give the disclaimer. Things are hard to buy right now, so. But anyway, so as many times as I've played through Carcosa, whenever we what's the opposite of ignoring the oath? You don't take the oath, but you heed the oath?
Heed the warning.
Heed the warning. There it is. So whenever you heed the warning, and you get penalized for saying Hastur during the course of a scenario.
Don't I know it?
For how many times we've played that, or I personally have played that, my record is super clean. I'm really good about remembering, even when I'm reading stuff, because I've taken several people through this campaign. Super clean. It's never been an issue for me. For some reason, when my dad brain activated and I'm kind of in that headspace, I lost my damn mind when it came to abstaining from saying Hastur. Lily, how many times did I say Hastur during our game? 3? She's going back between 2 and 3. I think I almost stopped myself halfway through one of them. But it was real bad. But despite Gloria getting taken out in the 11th hour of Dim Carcosa, Duke managed to seal Hastur away in Carcosa forever. So it ended very,
good
very
boy.
well.
Yeah,
He's
what a
the
good
goodest
boy.
He's a good boy.
And then beyond that, Justin and I are playing through Innsmouth, and we just played through In Too Deep and Devil Reef. As mentioned, very fun scenarios. I'm playing Gloria in those ones. And what I've found with Gloria is that she's great. And even when all of your scrying stuff is in like the bottom 10 cards, your ally, your spells, your events, when all of it's in your bottom 10 cards and all she is stats and mystic cards, she still works. It's pretty great.
All right.
Yeah, that I remember the first solo Gloria I built had a bunch of like enemy spell management stuff, but then I realized I didn't need it all.
Yeah, it's she's very, very good for those who care to engage with the scrying stuff. So then beyond that, started up a Dream Eaters campaign with my sister and her fiance, and that's been fun too. I'm trying to remember who I'm playing in that one. Oh yeah, Sister Mary.
That sounded convincing.
Yeah, no. Okay, I was trying to remember what point I was trying to make here. Finally had a chance to try Sister Mary, and
Our Bless token, Sean.
and all 4 of these decks are playing with Bless and Curse. So it is the first time I've actually played high count multiplayer where all the decks are playing with it. That said, these were level 0 decks, so the actual playing with it was fairly minimal. But I was surprised to see that Sister Mary can actually really hold her own as a monster killer, as a primary monster killer in 4-player when you build her. I was about to use the word right, but I'm not going to be that objective about it.
Did you play Jesus Takes the Winchester? Or Jesus Take the Winchester?
I included Winchester in my deck. I don't know if that qualifies.
Yep.
Okay. I'm glad that bar is so high.
Yeah. Sister Mary, add Winchester. Jesus Take the Winchester. That's the deck. Yep.
I have this new deck idea. Yeah, it's 2 cards with 1 investigator, and then you just fill in the rest.
Yeah, just whatever.
Yeah, it ended
Less
up working
tokens is
out all
probably
right.
good. Yeah.
Because with Sister Mary, you kind of have to decide, all right, am I going to lean into her willpower and go with Mystic stuff where that's how I'm doing damage, or am I actually going to try to work with her 3 combat and use all the Guardian stuff? And for the purposes of this team, I went with the latter. So both Thompson and... oh, God.
Winchester?
Thank you. Just said the word.
That's fine. We haven't talked about it in a while. So
No.
I understand.
It's very understandable.
I haven't mentioned the
blanking.
card in like 8 seconds, so I don't... Yeah.
Anyway, the idea is to main the big 2-handed guns and then upgrade into Bandolier and then have kind of like mid to late game spells to push through once the gun and Bandolier are in place. But Bless tokens are pretty cool. They're pretty all right, it turns out. So anyway, having fun with that campaign. I'm going to report back like at the end of the campaign when we actually have the XP cards and we're really playing, the Covenants and that sort of thing, and we're really playing with Bless and Curse. But even just at level 0, it was pretty fun. And like I handed Lily a very cursed Rex deck. So like he took all of the cursed cards from Seeker, except for, the upgrade one where we don't have the upgrade yet. And then also used his splash slots to put in all the rogue curse stuff. So yeah, I don't know. God, it's really fun. It tickles a part of my brain that's just like, I know this is going to come back to bite me, but 5 resources.
Is Faustian
Yeah.
Bargain just the best resource card we have now? Because I feel like it is.
It's so good.
Like it just is, right? I mean,
It's very, very, very good.
oh,
I have a hard time with best unless I'm being like demonstratively hyperbolic. But yes,
if
it
you
is.
have access to the card, it is the best resource card you can take. Mm-hmm. Is what I'm saying.
Because guess what? You're probably planning on bad tokens for those tests where you're going to pull the curses anyway, so, yeah.
And you're probably, like, just destroying all the other tests you're taking. And you know what I mean? Like, if you're... Yeah, I don't know. I think there's two curse tokens is nothing compared to 5 resources.
Yeah,
So,
it's, in one action is so good.
yeah.
I'm not going to argue.
And if you're playing not solo, you can actually spread it around. So...
And then I've got other...
Oh, I thought you meant like maybe other people will draw the curse tokens.
yeah. That too.
I've got other things going, other campaigns going. I'm flushed with Arkham right now, but the thing I wanted to mention is that Scott and I, for our next TNA, I think, are planning to do a Rick and Morty campaign with Norman and Tommy. And I have a very, very specific Tommy deck that I'm looking to bring. And
so my Rick?
well, I mean, I have this deck. I don't necessarily need to play it. I'm super into playing Rick. But I'm thinking we do Dream Eaters, and then we pick another weird animated show to theme the other team on. But I have no idea what that would be.
Pinky and the Brain.
Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, wow, I approve of both answers. I guess it's 4 player.
Beavis and Butthead.
Angry Beavers.
Oh my god, Ren and Stimpy and Pinky and the Brain is a show I would so watch. Just all 4 of them in a room.
Team Girl Squad.
Anyway.
No, Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Ooh.
You come up with it. I'm not yet. I don't know. Who's Meatwad? Aren't we all Meatwad?
I think we all endeavor to be Meatwad.
Logistics. We'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out later. So anyway, TNA. After my computer comes, it's going to get more regular. It's going to be awesome. Scott's going to be moved, and
yes,
it's going to be coming. So check out YouTube and Discord for future TNA installments. Okay, moving on. Quick reminder that our custom-made Arbits, Clue, and Doom tokens are still out there on the Arbits website. That's aurbits.com. And use the Mythos Busters Direct code to get, I think it's 10% off. One thing I wanted to mention, we're bringing it back. We are necromancing this straight up out of the ground. A while
AV
back.
Club. Oh no.
Sorry. No, that.
Let's be real now.
The ashes of AV Club were scattered over Farkham Con to sow the field.
What is dead may never die. Anyways,
Right.
Continue, please.
But instead, earlier in the life of the podcast, we had I think we got some pretty good traction with it too. I remember editing in quite a few calls. We have a Mythos Busters hotline that allows you guys to call in and you either ask us questions that you want us to discuss on the podcast, or leave us comments or feedback or a counter argument to something we said on an episode. Or if you prefer, I'm just going to start giving out a weekly prompt, and if you want to throw in on that discussion, just call in, leave us a little sound bit, and then we'll throw it on the podcast. And it's a really cool way to actually interact with the community in a way that actually gives people who call in an actual voice, and you can just be on the show for a minute and spur some discussion that way. So if you feel like leaving a comment, call us at the Mythos Busters hotline. That's 203-493-MYTH. Or that's 203-493-6984 if you prefer. This week's prompt. Call in, please. Let us know what you think. And don't be shy with being extreme on it. Which class do you think is the most versatile, and why?
Well,
Nope.
Sean, versatile is a neutral card, so anyone can take it.
All right. Y'all know what I mean. And we will discuss this on the next episode, assuming we get some calls in.
I will throw it out there, too, for anyone who does the Facebooks. This phone number, if you go just to our Facebook page and click the call company button, or like call us button, it goes to this number. So there's a phone button on our Facebook page near the top for ease of use.
Yep. So check that out if you haven't already. We're hoping to kind of revive this because it was a really cool way to interact with listeners in a way that we don't normally get to do, and actually hear you guys and what you have to say. So if you had that thought, just call in. It's very simple. Beyond that, let's see what else. Okay, so Mythos merch. So we mentioned earlier in the year that when we did Iron Man, the special Iron Man swag that we had made with Pat of our really cool Fun Run logo. We're going to be sunsetting that at the end of the month, and that month is January. So if you were going to get a mug or a shirt or a poster or something of our Circle Undone Fun Run, do that now. It's out there. That's mythosmerch.com. All right. Let's see. Ian, what patron news have we?
Alrighty, here we are in 2021. 2020 finally came to an end. Now we're in 2020 part 2. So thanks to our board members for still being with us. Chris B, Chris H, Chris M, Morton, Jared, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Dave, Abilio, Nathan, Chad, and Robert. Thanks so much for your support. And special shout out to a random patron this time around is to Aaron Prieto. Aaron, thank you so much. And mythosmerch.com. If you've happened to visit our site and purchase any of our stuff or win some of our swag, please send us pictures because we like sharing that kind of stuff of seeing the Mythos merch stuff in the wild. And if you haven't been to mythosmerch.com, you should go because there's lots of cool stuff there and more stuff that we're actually working on that hasn't made it up there yet. Our next patron goal is to do another standalone scenario. So for last Gen Con, the last Gen Con that actually happened, because last year it was just a weird virtual Gen Con. But for the last physical Gen Con, we created Consternation on the Constellation, which was our own custom standalone scenario we made. So our next patron goal, once we hit that, is going to be creating another standalone scenario. I wonder how we'll come up with ideas for that.
It's a conundrum.
I wonder. When can we find time? And the final piece of patron business is kind of a really cool one because we worked really hard on this especially over November and December. But this is a Dissonant Voices update. This is the series where we record kind of audio versions of the campaign text, so you can just put it on and listen to it instead of reading all that text. We worked really hard, and we're all caught up with all the past campaigns, and we're ready to get started with recording Innsmouth stuff. So,
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of...
It was a push.
It was a push. It was a lot of work, but we're all very happy that it's out there now, and you can enjoy it, and when you get ready to play any of those past campaigns, and if you're a patron at any level, $1 or above, then you have access to those audio files. Just head on over to our Patreon page and you can find the post there.
And as well, I know we've been teasing it for a while, and I look forward to the day where we don't have to just tease it, we can actually promise things, but there are still a couple variables that prevent us from really getting specific. There's a really, really cool enhancement coming to Dissonant Voices, so if you've been on the bubble, soon is good.
Yes.
We're releasing the audio files on Zune.
Now available on 8-track. All right.
Betamax.
All right, Betamax. Fuck, where are we? Nick, what news do we have going on?
News! I had a double take because when I looked at the show notes, I was like, oh, Bad Blood, that's right, we have to talk about that. And then I opened up the article and I was breezing through it, so I was ready to go, and I was like, wait a minute. We talked about Bad Blood last episode. Blad Blood. We talked about Blaz Blue last episode. So this episode, we're talking about
Calamity Trigger.
The Lair of Dagon. Which, gosh, I'm not even... When did this article come out? December 17th. So, golly, it's been a while. I don't know why I said golly right there.
Gee willikers, mister!
Because we're a family-friendly podcast. No, we're not.
Also, the article says the Order of Dagon, the 5th Mythos pack. It's not the Order of Dagon, it's the Lair of Dagon. That's a weird little typo. But anyway, moving on from there, we have some player cards to talk about. In this article, we have a Seeker card, a Mystic card. We have 2 Seeker cards, actually, and a Mystic card to talk about. So let's start with Scott, if you want to read the Stygian Eye for us.
Oh man, eyes make me so nauseous, but I will do it. All right, the Stygian Eye is a 10-cost level 3 Seeker event. There's 3 willpower icons. It is Insight and Curse traded. Fast, play only during your turn. Reduce the cost to play the Stygian Eye by 1 for each curse token in the Chaos bag. Until the end of the round, you get +3 to each of your skills.
Okay, this one I am going to have to insist. It is a soft G. This is not a hard G.
Oh, Stygian?
This is Stygian. Yeah.
Stygian. Okay.
What do you do with the yellow
Unlike
sign?
Giblets.
You stidgy it in your eye.
Gross. Oh, hey, look at that. Yeah, it is the Haster sign. Look at that. This is another one of those cards. I'm not sure how it fits until we have all the curse tokens or curse cards.
I mean, someone was just talking about a Rex deck that's going to love this.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're drawing so many... Oh, I don't know.
So plus
three?
three to all
Okay.
your skills is good, but only if you're gonna like use more than one of your skills for a turn.
Yeah.
I feel like this maybe gets played in solo, maybe, but then you've got fewer people putting curse tokens into the bag, which means making this reasonably costed gets harder.
Mm-hmm. Until the end of the round.
Yeah.
If it went till the end of the next Mythos phase, that would be better. I mean, obviously, that'd be better.
I'm trying to figure out how this could be. I don't want to say broken or busted open, but like, so immediately
When you can make use of it.
like I'm trying to think of like, so I immediately jumped to Amanda, and the reason I jumped to Amanda is she can take. Well, I guess Mandy could do this too. Quick thinking, and so if you quick thinking on a
sure.
Mythos phase test, because you can take an action as if it were your turn, but play only during your turn. Oh, but it's fast. No, never mind. Cancel all that.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
I don't know either.
Okay, so question. Obviously, if you can play this for free, it's a good card. What's the most you're paying for this resource-wise? Like, what's the goal? What do you want to get this down
I think if it's
to?
anything higher than 3, I wouldn't be a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about where I'm at. 2 or 3. I want to pay 2 or 3 for this tops.
Lord Bad Boy brings up Joe with Survival Knife or Counterpunch.
Sure.
I guess the thing is, though, like, if you're paying 3 for it, that means there's 7 curses in the bag. And so while you're taking these tests,
And then you're drawing like 3
Yeah.
curses.
it's only giving you +1 when you draw a curse token, essentially.
Unless you're doing like a Daisy deck with this and you're running a lot of Mystic stuff that mashes skills together. You know, and
Yeah.
you get +3 to everything, which turns into a +6 on Read the Signs, or a +6 on Ethereal Form, or a +6 on whatever you guys get it. I don't need to do the 30.
I still don't have the covenants like fully memorized. Is the Seeker Covenant +1 don't draw another token and then put it back?
I don't know.
I don't remember the covenants. I only know this. I only know the Survivor one because that's the one I've been maining.
I'm gonna find it.
I think that's correct, Sean, but yeah, I'm still trying to commit those to memory. I think one of the things, and I think someone like Joe is a good example of maybe where I might look at it, but you're more kind of straight ahead, like investigatee, seekers. I think part of my problem with this card is I don't find myself too often being like, I wish my intellect skill was higher. Like with the seeker cards that are now already in the pool, like I'm just like have all the
How
intellect I can
possibly
stomach.
find a way to more intellect?
Yeah. So this feels like more of those instances where you're trying to do stuff with your other skills, but I don't know. It's not. It's just a lot of hoops to jump through with 3 XP and reducing the resource cost. And at the end of the day, you get +3 for until the end of the round, which is nice. But
I feel like ultimately we're gonna have to weigh in on this once we see the full curse suite, and possibly even when we get like Return to the Innsmouth Conspiracy and like we've like all of the curse
Maybe.
suite. Then I think this one might come back into the meta. Maybe.
Network does bring up says you're also forgetting that Harvey can get like 20 resources in turn 3. So maybe some seekers just like literally hard cast this at 10.
I mean, yeah, I suppose.
It's expensive, but
Yeah,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not exceptional.
let's move on to the card that I like to call Doot Doot Magic Flute. And we'll toss this one Sean's way since it's purple.
Oh yeah, the Doot Doot Flute of the Outer Gods is a level 4 Mystic asset. It is X-costed, and then it has willpower, combat, and agility icons. It has item, instrument, relic, and cursed traits. It is exceptional. Seal up to X curse tokens. So you pay for what you're going to seal. And then action. Exhaust the flute and release a curse token sealed on it. Choose a non-elite enemy at your location. Either move the chosen enemy to a connecting location or deal its damage to any enemy at its location. Which is nice because then you can do it to itself. And this action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Takes up a hand slot.
why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?
So I do like that it's a card that plays with curses that also doesn't make you do tests. Doesn't ask you to do
Right.
tests at all. This just happens. So that's cool.
Yeah.
It's 8 XP, one of. Hand slot's not that big a deal in Mystic. I mean, definitely Mystics nowadays can fill their hand slots, but I build plenty of Mystic decks that don't, so like it's
Right.
fine. Yeah.
This card is expensive.
Yeah.
And here's my reasoning behind this, because, like you said, it's exceptional, so it's 8 XP. If you want to get something good out of it, you're probably going to want to seal at least 4 to 5 curses.
Right.
Like 4 is probably the bare minimum I want. I'd be hoping for 6, 7, 8, somewhere
7.
there.
Yeah.
But when you think about that, then you also have to somehow get that many curses into the bag. And how many cards are you going to have to play to get that critical mass of curses and then play this card? Because to me, that's also part of the cost of this card.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think there are so
So-
many of these curse and bless cards, probably more on the curse side than the bless side, because at least the bless, if you've got nothing else going on, they still help, kinda.
Yeah.
But on the curse side, there are so many of these that I'm just going to look at and be like, if the team's coordinating, I'm in. If it's all on
Right.
my deck to support this, it gets a lot shakier. And
Yeah.
I feel like this is definitely in that zone.
I'm torn.
Yeah, I really like the flavor of it and what it's trying to do. Trying to do something different. I do really love that it's, that testless damage that you can repeat several times depending on how much you pay. Yeah, I think it's really the XP cost and that one of. I mean, you can include some relic fetching cards in your deck, which is fine.
Sure.
But 8 XP, I guess at what point are you gonna play this? Maybe like I'm thinking of like our playthrough of Black Throne, and if you could move the tiny dancers around or have them deal damage to themselves, that actually might be a case where you're looking at something like this. But again, you would have to have the XP to spend. So
Yeah, because you want to use this on enemies that are dealing 2 damage. Like, if you're only getting 1 damage off of this, I'm not feeling great about it. So, yeah, like mid to late campaign when some of the big heavy hitters come out that just kind of pose as normal enemies, like it gets better. But I don't know. It's it's cool and splashy. I like that about it.
Yeah, it's fun for sure. Does it gosh, does that non-elite feel bad in this card when you're paying 8 XP, you can only have one of it?
Feels balanced.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's like the result of, God, was it the segments of the Queen? No, segments of Onyx.
segments of Onyx.
Like it's almost like, I don't know, that MJ is maybe
but
worried about the power level of it.
but this is 8 segments of Onyx was 1 experience and you got the set.
Yes.
This is 8 experience. You get 1 copy of it. you have to build around it if you want to get this thing out. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're just... But who spends 8 experience just to be like, oh, I guess I'll take this.
You have to
I
seed
8
the
extra
charges
experience.
and then pay for each charge.
Yeah, like, this is already asking so much that I feel like this card would have been fine. And I don't know, because a card like this is one you have to play with it to get a real feel for it. But at first blush, it feels like it would have been fine affecting any enemy.
This feels like one of those cards that like a min-maxer got a hold of too early in playtesting and it just got nerfed.
Well,
Yeah.
Thoth brings up a good point, though. There's a pretty clearly a golden rule that you can't move elites with player cards because it
Yeah.
breaks multiple bosses.
Yep.
That
Yeah,
is
totally
fair.
does.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
I do wish you could do the damage on elites, because I don't think that would break much.
Well, you can put the damage from an enemy onto an elite.
Oh, yeah, so you
From
can
a
have
different
your
one.
rats hit the
well,
gold
there's
priest.
that at least.
Yeah, your rats could start eating the gold priest.
See how you like it.
Yum, 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 yum.
This could also just get rid of rats, so there's some sweet tech.
So yeah, great. Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry, I can't hear you over my guard dog.
Cries in secret name.
Next we have, I missed this one when I was listing him earlier. Ian, do you want to read Favor of the Moon for us?
I do. I like moon art. Favor of the Moon is a neutral asset. It's a level 1 card, 1 cost, intellect and combat icons, pact and curse traits. Fast, seal up to 3 curses. If there are no tokens sealed on Favor of the Moon, discard it. Reaction: when you would reveal a chaos token from the chaos bag, exhaust Favor of the Moon. Resolve a token sealed here instead, as if it were just revealed from the chaos bag. Then gain 1 resource.
Interesting.
This is an interesting way to like play a Faustian bargain or 2 of them, have a bunch of curses in the bag, then just play this down to seal them and never use it.
Yeah.
It's like
And like
That's
with
what
the
it
idea to
feels
never use it, but occasionally when you're on a test, you're like, I'm failing this anyway,
Yeah.
or I don't
Right.
care.
Yep.
Just choose to get rid of one and get a resource off it. That's pretty good.
Well, there's also the newer spell suite that give you stuff if a curse is revealed.
I completely forgot about those.
This is basically like ensuring that you're going to get those when you want them.
Well,
yeah.
now I see how those are supposed to work. I
Yeah.
thought, like, do you need to go grotesque statue? Do you need to do you need to play Jacqueline to make these work? And now it makes way more sense, and I can't believe I didn't see it before now. Thank you for that.
You got mooned, Sean.
Oh boy.
Oh, you know what? Network brings up a thing, I think, like failing, right? Like with Sella or any other survivor, when you're kind of using that fail to get ahead style.
Sure.
Yeah.
Set yourself up for it.
When you really want to make sure you get that look what I found, or the take
Yeah,
Heart?
if you
Any one
play
of
Take
Stella's
Heart, you're
cards.
still going to draw all the blessed tokens too.
Yeah, it's going to be
how it
curse
works.
into Elder Sign.
I mean, your first mistake was playing bless cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Neat.
Yeah, this is one of those cards where without the like other curse play cards with the context, this card just makes no sense. Like, you're like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. We also have a card fan, and the one that we can read is, gosh, I don't. We haven't seen this before, right? We haven't seen level 4 hyper awareness before, have we? Because my
No.
brain is telling me we have.
No,
We've
we've
seen
seen
the
arcane
mechanics.
studies and
Yeah.
physical training.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
2 that
Okay,
aren't in this
so-
one.
Yeah.
So it is implied pretty heavily that we will be getting the remaining class versions of those 2 cards, the Dig Deep, Hard Knocks, and Hyper Awareness. We don't need to read them.
I would say
Everybody knows what they
confirmed.
do. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty.
I'm willing to call
staring
it.
right at them.
I'm willing to call it.
Don't know about that one, Sean. All right. However, we have a couple other cards that are in here, and we can kind of read some of them. Let's go with, as much as I want to go with Nephthys, let's actually go with Favor of the Sun, because that's, I think it'll be a little easier to parse out exactly what's going on. Well, I guess we're only... Anyway, let's just commit to one, Nick. Stop. All right, so Favor of the Sun is a unique...
Good choice, Nick.
First level... I just love me some sun art. It's a first level neutral asset that costs 2 resources, has a will and an agility icon. It's packed and blessed traded, so Mateo can take it. Fast, seal, up to 3 blessed tokens. If there are no tokens... sealed on Favor of the Sun, discard it. Reaction: when you would reveal a chaos token, the chaos bag, from the chaos bag, I'm guessing that says, exhaust Favor of the Sun. I'm guessing it says to resolve a token sealed here instead, as if it were just drawn from the chaos bag. So it's the good the more obviously good version,
The blessed version.
The
the
mirror
packed
image,
version.
yeah.
The blessed version, which is cool. I mean, everything we just said about the moon one applies for here. You don't get the resource,
So
whatever.
So
But you get the plus 2.
baller for like your succeed by 2 rogue shenanigans.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It's like
100%.
All the
I think
bless
I need
cards
to-
that trigger off of bless, your Sister Mary stuff.
Yeah.
Or just, yeah.
Jesus.
I think
take
I
the
really
favor
need
of the
to-
sun.
I think I really need to pump up Brian again from Right of Seeking blog, rightofseeking.com. He came up with this Yorick deck using the Survivor Covenant, which is when investigate your location resolves a blessed token during a skill test, exhaust Ancient Covenant. Do not reveal another token as part of this token's effect.
Whoo, so you just auto pass.
And then Jesus take the Winchester, but also Yorick.
And Favor of the Sun is an asset that Yorick can play out of his discard pile.
Yes,
and
he
grab
can.
Oh my lordy! Yeah, that's gonna be good.
And then Survivor
What
is
fun.
Survivor's cards are adding blessed tokens,
Yeah, they are.
like
Yeah.
Keep Faith.
Yeah, they are. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems like it'd probably be pretty good.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he wrote an article on this deck list, or the idea behind this deck, and like baseball bat, right? Like just
What?
guarantee you're not going to draw a skull or tentacle token
Oh, okay.
because you're just like bless, but it's just like +2. And so with the Winchester, it gives you what, +3? So
Plus 2. Oh, is it 3? Gosh, I don't
It's +2 to your combat, and then
know. And plus 1 damage.
+2
Plus
damage
2
if you
damage.
draw a non-negative modifier.
Oh, that's right.
So 3 total.
So you're swinging at like 8 base if you use a blessed token.
That's pretty okay.
8 combat, 3 damage. Seems good. Anyways, I think Favor of the Sun is just my favorite card in this pack. Now,
It's
so
quite good. I'd say I have gotten some serious mileage out of the level 4 arcane studies, so I'm very excited to see what these other ones that replenish. Like, this is what we've been screaming for since the core set, where we're like, I see what these cards are doing. We don't have enough resources to really use them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now that we do, I imagine these will see a fair few decks.
Oh, totally. Right, I'm gonna read Nephthys just
Yeah.
because we can basically see what it does.
I think we can parse it out.
I think
allow
we
it.
can do it. Okay, so Nephthys is a unique guardian asset. The Huntress of Bast costs 3 resources and 4 experience, a will and 2 combat icons, ally and blessed trait, so Mateo can take her. You get +1 will, I'm guessing.
Already like it for
why-
Mateo.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Oh wait, no, it's a level 4. Can't he only take blessed top?
No, he's blessed up to 5, isn't he? That's his thing.
Oh, shit.
I think it's
That's
only
like
up
his thing.
I think it's only up to 3. Anyways, keep reading. I'll check.
Okay. Damn it, you're right. Anyway, I just saw Mr. Rook posting it, and not Mr. Rook, Network posting it. And anyway, reaction: when one or more blessed tokens would be removed from the chaos bag during a skill test, seal them on Nephthys instead. Zappy Boy, I'm guessing, exhaust Nephthys, either release 3 blessed tokens sealed here, or return 3 blessed tokens sealed on her to the token pool, and deal, I'm guessing that's, and deal 2 damage to an enemy at your location. She has 2 health and 2 sanity, takes up the ally slot. I I like it. I mean, the plus will in a level 4 Guardian already kind of says this isn't for everybody. Which is a shame, because the follow-up text is so fun. Mm-hmm. Granted, Guardian doesn't have a whole lot of Blessed stuff other than, like... Do they? I don't think they do, other than Mary and, like, Blessed Blade.
No, they have that. What's the dodge card? But you put blessed tokens equal to
Oh,
the...
yeah,
and then there's
the
like
3
righteous
cost
hunt
event.
and
Yeah, that's true, I
there's
guess.
some new
Okay.
things now.
So it's
Yeah.
really just the will that kind of forces Nephthys into specific investigators. Not that you're going to be sad if you're playing Roland and you get an ally with +1 will, but that maybe at 4 experience that's not going to do as much for your deck, potentially, as other allies would, or other 4 experience cards would. But the fact that you're getting extra mileage out of your Blessed tokens when normally they're gone and you'd have to refill, like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Also, can we just appreciate for a moment that MJ was like, let's make sure there's a cat in the art. There has to be a cat.
I mean, this one actually makes sense.
Yes,
like,
it does,
the
but it's
Huntress
still,
of
I
the
wanted to
Past.
point it out.
Well, I kind of like, too, that... Yeah, like, you get those blessed tokens, and when they be removed, you put her back on here. And then once you use them on her, you can put them back in the bag. So you're actually getting 3 uses out of them. Well, no, you're getting infinite uses.
Yeah.
'Cause you
Potentially
can continue
infinite uses,
to
yeah.
just juggle them back into the bag if you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the blessed tokens are more like kind of a charge meter, like in a video game. Like she charges up and you just
Yeah.
so.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like it.
I feel like if you're doing any serious bless play, she's a very top contender if you can take it.
Yeah, totally.
Right on.
Basically, an auto include for Sister Mary, right?
I
I
probably. I don't know.
yeah.
Like
I feel like there's a few different ways you can build Mary, but like she was one of the first ones I thought of.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, there are, but yeah.
Especially if you
Okay,
go like
cool.
hard clue Mary, and then maybe this is just your defensive option.
Wait, hard clue. Mary's
Yeah,
a
could
thing?
do that.
Well, I mean, like using the mystic spell suite
Yeah, sure.
of clues and stuff.
And Scene of the Crime.
Yeah.
And that's it from Guardian. Yeah, so that was the Lair of Dagon. Excited. There's also a scenario that comes with these cards, which is it's nice that they're doing that. Also want to remind everybody real quick before we move on about FFG Play and Share. It's still going on. Tag your social media posts about Arkham with hashtag FFG Play and Share. You can learn all about it at the link that's in our show notes that I will post in Discord as well. Yeah, we got a new, we unlocked Skids today. Let's see. Oh gosh. Rotate that image, please. Thank you. Oh, it's just full art Skids. I saw this earlier. I don't know why. But
Yeah.
it's using the template that, which investigator? Daisy, originally from the first Invocation kit, used. Mm-hmm. Right? Is that the same? That's the same one, right?
Yeah, it's
template.
it's basically the extended art template.
Yeah. Really nice. And we get it for both OG Skids as well as there's also one for the new Skids too, right?
Yeah, for parallel.
Yeah, so that's really cool. So that's fun to get that unlocked. And if you share more social media posts with hashtag FFG Play and Share, then hopefully we can see some more Arkham content in the future.
Just gonna go out on a limb. Probably more extended art parallel investigators. Probably Agnes next. I would hope. Let's get it.
I ain't
I
no
want
doctor,
me.
but
Sure.
I want me some Agnes. So let's get after it. Pitter patter. Wonderful. Scott, any rules that you wanted to bring today?
No,
Fantastic.
nothing I can think of.
So let's dive straight on in then, after an hour and 10 minutes, to our main Tupac. Let's build a scenario. Nick, I feel like you guided us through this very well last time. I'm gonna turn it on over to you.
Okay. So, yes, as was said, we are going to be brainstorming a scenario. We're going to be doing basically broad strokes. We're going to be looking for ideas from chat. So live listeners, if you have ideas as we're going,
We're perfectly
throw...
willing to steal them and pretend we came up with them.
Exactly. Now, as was mentioned at the top of the show, I think Ian mentioned it earlier. Maybe Sean did. I don't know. I forget. I get everybody confused sometimes.
You're not the only
one. The last time we did this was a couple years ago when we talked about and we brainstormed the consternation on the constellation. We came up with the broad strokes for that scenario, and then we shocked everybody by releasing that at the following Gen Con. This, as our patrons know, releasing another standalone scenario, custom standalone scenario, is a patron goal for us. And we're close to that. So we want to get a start on this process now. We're not committing to any timeline. So around the time of Gen Con, I don't want anybody to be like, well, they should have that scenario out by now. No. We're not committing to anything right now. We're just getting the ball rolling and getting excited for it so that, if and when we do hit that Patreon goal, we're able to kick it into high gear. So
don't put us in a box, okay?
Exactly. Back off. Jim? Stop it. All right. So to get us started, there are 4 to copy what we did previously. There are 4 basic ingredients that we go with when we are creating the broad strokes of a scenario. And those 4 ingredients are the theme, the setting, the villain, and the gimmick. We changed Great Old One from Great Old One to gimmick or to villain because that opens up some more opportunities. And especially because like the great old ones like that, they're really fitting for a campaign standalone. Maybe not so much, maybe not. But anyway, those ingredients, the theme is the one we're going to start with. The theme is basically, like for Consternation on the Constellation, the theme was escape. It's usually a couple words that encompasses an idea that the whole scenario is built around. It should be when it should make sense when you hear theme and think of a scenario. Like for instance, I think a good theme for I should have had an example. Can anyone think of an example?
The Gathering is trapped.
I mean, or we could just refer back to the last time we did this actual episode.
Well, and that too, yeah. So anyway, so that's the theme. Sean is in charge of our theme, and of course, now I should also preface this by saying that we, the 4 of us, for the most part, don't know what everyone else picked. So, Sean, what is our theme going to be?
All right, well, let me give you guys Sean amounts of exposition before I lay it on you.
I'm going to go paint my house. I'll be right back.
So, there have been a few times in playing cooperative games where I really have a moment where it's like, oh, shit, that happened. And when I think back on those sorts of moments where I'm just, like, giggling and gleeful at, like, the dynamicness of this, ultimately static encounter deck that I'm playing against, I'm going to lay a couple Lord of the Rings references on you guys. The Massing at Osgiliath, when you flip that shadow card and it's an Osgiliath Ranger, and you're like, oh, damn! Came out of nowhere, and now I have an ally, and it's awesome, and like it's just this really cool thing where it's just like all of a sudden the world popped up with something you didn't expect. And then secondly, for inspiration, I'm going to mention Ian, you'll have to help me with the actual name of the scenario, but it's the Tower of Cirith Ungol in the Mountain of Fire box.
I believe
and
that's
in
what
that
it's
one
called,
you've got okay, good, nailed it. Go me. It has 2 kind of sub factions of orcs fighting each other while they're fighting you while you're trying to escape, and there's some really fun stuff that happens in that scenario where treachery could actually deal damage to an enemy that's engaged with you, and like suddenly orcs might take each other out through a shadow effect, and like there's this kind of chaos to the world that you're participating in, and it's still threatening, but there are moments where it relents on you and just the world kind of acts upon itself. So I'm reducing all of this theme down to sudden chaos.
So jeez.
So our theme
amazing.
Okay.
So our theme is going to be sudden chaos. I want the idea that something has just broken out and craziness is happening around us, and occasionally that means that encounter cards might have positive effects, however we decide to mete that out.
I like that theme because I know exactly what you're talking about, Sean. And my mind, now that you bring up Lord of the Rings, when we were playing that one year at Worlds and we were playing the Two Towers, the place where they hide in the castle, and Gandalf's like, wait here till the
Helm's
third
Deep.
day. Helm's Deep. And remember, we were like playing, and then we were like setting up, we're all good, and then I drew that weakness in my deck that discarded my hand, and I nearly flipped the table, and then it just like, yeah. Because I think Sudden Chaos can go both ways, but I like what you're thinking, like where all of a sudden you're like, what's going on? And it's just the board state changes over the course of like 4 card draws, and you're like, holy shit, what is going on now?
I love those moments where the encounter deck does something that's not just always beating your face in, but definitely has a dynamic effect on what's happening on the board. And you know, sometimes can help you, sometimes can just cause you to rethink your strategy. So I just really like that idea of sudden chaos with something going on around us that's just chaotic and unpredictable.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Nick,
So-
a polite dinner party as setting.
Oh boy.
And
Well,
an evening with your investigator is my setting. No. So for setting is the location specific or broad. Generally, I like to be more on the broad side of my settings. So for this setting, I don't really need to set it up, do I? Like, I want it to be on a deserted island, on an island that doesn't have civilization on it.
Okay.
I am a big fan of like the corners of the map, so to speak, to kind of give it a romantic, exploratory feel to it. I really love stories that take place out and away from action. You can tell because I designed an official scenario that takes place in a hotel. But no, without being cheeky, Antarctica, obviously, I'm a big Thing fan. I love the Mountains of Madness. I love that. Like, that's really cool. And I think that a deserted tropical island is that's something like we've seen kind of tropical environments in Arkham already, but and we've seen a little bit of nautical stuff, or we're coming up on some nautical stuff, and obviously we did Consternation on the Constellation. But the fun thing is that if we do an island, this could also be a fun follow-up, thematically appropriate follow-up to Consternation on the Constellation.
oh shit.
Yeah, the boat that rescues you crashes ashore this island.
Yeah, right? Or it could be So that's the setting, is a deserted tropical island.
Okay, now I have a couple questions,
I
clarifying
have a couple
questions.
answers.
When you say deserted,
Yes.
you mean currently deserted. Is there a possibility that there was civilization here before
Oh, 100%.
and they've died out?
Oh, it's
100%.
Lovecraft. That has to be
Okay.
Right.
beautiful.
But currently no one inhabits it.
Other than our investigators and whatever creatures or enemies or villain. Like, for all intents and purposes, it's a deserted island. You know what I mean?
Right.
So no Osgiliath Rangers.
Unless, we can. I think there are ways we could get something like that
Sure.
and still keep it in this, in this setting.
How about
But
lightsaber
the point
polar
that I'm
bears?
exactly. The thing that I'm trying to get away with, or get away from, is civilization. You know what I mean? I want it to feel like you're not in the middle of civilization. So that's our setting. The third ingredient that we have is the villain. And the villain, we don't need to say what the villain is. You all know what a villain is. It's a pretty ubiquitous term. Ian, what did you pick for our villain?
Okay. So I'm going to add a little dash of villain. So there were a few things that went into my choice here. I was trying to think of if I was going to choose one of the big baddies, it was going to be one we haven't seen like a full cycle around so far. I also kind of have... Maybe because of the year we just had, I had this idea of like, well, is there a old one that's really focused on like disease and pestilence? Because we haven't really seen that explored really in a scenario. But ultimately, what I came down with is the big villain. Not to say this entity will actually show up in this scenario, but her minions surely will. And that is Shub, also known as the Black Goat of the Woods. Just a quick summary for those who are unfamiliar. So Shub is kind of like a twisted fertility goddess, an evil version of a fertility goddess you might have in other mythology. Probably the Mythos entity that has the most worshippers, the most like different creatures and minions that worship her. Really, kind of in past Arkham games, the Shub scenarios have tended to be the ones that just spit out a lot of enemies at you and monsters. Or that's part of the stories too, is just like Shub is always like kind of has all these like creatures that are kind of serving her will and sacrifices and all that good stuff. But although I didn't really see anything like specifically calling out like disease and pestilence, it makes sense that like Shub to me is like the enabler of all the bad things that might propagate very quickly in the world that we don't want to propagate very quickly in the world. So that's where I landed.
Nice.
All right.
That's exciting. I love me some Dark Young, and they
Yeah,
are...
like, so the Dark Young in the core set were of Shub then?
Yes, well, Dark Young in general, I believe,
Okay.
are Shub's children.
And Goat Spawn, I think, are tied to Shub.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Okay. So then that in chat,
As
where-
was the
where did it come
Rougarou
up? Oh yeah,
in our
right.
Mythos.
So there's a lot of crazy stuff we could do with this. There's a lot of sudden chaos we could pull out of our Shub. Network in chat says, "Man, you are designing the Lost scenario." Yeah, you know what? We kind of are.
We kind of are.
Let's see. We've got one ingredient left, and that is our mechanical gimmick. Scott, it has fallen to you 2 times in a row. But
It's
I think
because
that's
it's...
How did that happen?
we won't talk about it. But okay, my gimmick is a plane crash, and there's No, I was kidding. Just to go on the Lost thing. So this is something I've kind of been thinking about a while, as far as designing a scenario around a mechanic that has... I don't think we've really seen it in the game yet. It is a mechanic or a gimmick in a lot of games, and it's a whole genre of games, both in mobile and like video games and board games and all this stuff. And basically tower defense / King of the Hill.
Yeah.
So my whole idea when I was initially thinking of a scenario gimmick was your investigators are running through the woods, they come to a clearing, they're running from something, and there's this farmhouse in the middle of this field, and they get in the farmhouse and they have to survive for a couple days with things just coming out. So the gimmick is essentially going to be the area in which the investigators move. They can move quite far if they want to, but it's very dangerous to do so. They're better off staying in like a couple of close-knit locations, but enemies are coming from a bunch of the edges locations and coming towards you. So it's more so King of the Hill, stay alive in the middle as stuff floods in.
So I have an analogy that I'm going to draw between your gimmick and a very, very strong memory that I have growing up as a wee little PC gamer. And this is something that I think only like... I'm going to try and keep it brief, which is probably not going to happen because it's me, but because I don't think there's going to be a lot of people who can relate to this. But I used to play a lot of StarCraft back in the day. And when I played StarCraft,
Yes.
I played a lot of custom maps.
Yes.
And one of the custom maps that I played a ton of, so TSO in chat is saying Sunken Defense. No, it wasn't that. But one of the custom maps I played a lot of, and all my friends played it too, and we played together a lot, was a Resident Evil Defense of Raccoon City map. And the whole idea was it's the biggest map possible, and there's a ton of shit going on, and you control one unit each, and you start in the middle of the map. And the whole point is to survive for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. That's all you have to do. But like there's upgrades and there's cool stuff and there's secrets and everything all out in the map. Like that's so when you exactly what you just described, like that's what I'm picturing. And I am getting such a I guess a boner.
A raging
for this
clue.
right
Oh no! All right, well, we went there.
So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah. So I think in connection to, like, so I'll kind of give you the quick, brief idea of what I thought of when I was originally like thinking of this idea myself, like alone. Was I had I imagined the farmhouse or barn or whatever you want to call it was 4 locations. 2 downstairs, 2 upstairs in a little square. Off of that square were 4 arms of 2 locations each. And there were 4 near locations and 4 far ones. Almost like an X going out. You could only fire you could attack adjacent locations from the lower level to the inner circle of them. And you could fire, if you had a ranged or a spell or a firearm, from the upstairs locations to the far locations, if that makes sense. But you could not fire at the close locations.
So literally they're talking about like enemies coming up a hill and you can fire down at them, essentially?
Kind of, like, or they're coming out from the woods, but if you're in the second floor and you have a gun, you can shoot the guys coming out of the forest line. So we don't need to stick to that, but the idea to me is you have a small area of movement that's like relatively safe for the investigators, but it's getting attacked. You could also go out where the enemies are, but that's going to be a lot more dangerous. So similar to Helm's Deep, I guess, right? Like, yeah.
One of the things I do like the tower defense genre, and back in my days of creating custom content for Lord of the Rings, I tried to make that work for Lord of the Rings, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out, but I think Arkham lends itself a little better. But one of the aspects of tower defense I really like in like some of the games is being able to like set up your defenses, like, oh, I'm going to build a turret here, and build a trap here. And so I think that's something that could work with like story assets. And maybe that's something that drives you out into the dangerous outer regions, is because you got to gather, resources to build these fortifications or whatever they are. Like, it could be where you have to do something in a location, and it's one of those, like, remember you did so-and-so, and then that's what lets you kind of access these story assets. But there's a few different ways we could go with that.
Yeah. When I was thinking of this, too, it was... the locations where the investigators sit will constantly refill on clues, so the seekers have something to do. But you can spend those clues to go through this story asset pile that is face down and has a different back or something, similar to the cargo boxes on Consternation. And maybe there's like 12 or 15 of these, and like you spend 1 clue per investigator or something. You shuffle up the deck and draw the top one. And like about 80% of this deck is good. And about 20% is like, oh, hey, look, you found a grenade that, someone pulled a pin, but it hadn't quite exploded and now it did. Or you found pieces to a turret, and maybe you had to get the 3 story asset cards together and now you have a turret. And... just stuff like that. So you can spend clues. I see someone in chat. Who was it? Sub-Zero. What if you got to spend victory points in-game tower defense style? Like something like that, right? Like where clues become this, what do you call it? Economy.
It's your currency.
Or currency. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, I really like the idea of like expanding on that. Also have a location or two where you could spend clues on it to like set a trap.
Yeah.
And like the next enemy that enters it and kind of like pre-defend an area that way.
Yeah.
I think, though, that if we're going to go with clues are the resource you spend to make defending easier, I think then clues should be difficult to get from the defensible location and easier to get from the locations that are further away.
Sure.
Agreed. Yep.
I think that it should encourage that, because otherwise you could run a team of 4 Seekers, no one ever leaves the center, and because it keeps refilling with clues, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
There's it requires kind of like mobility and tactical planning
Right.
that way. One
And
other
what I'm-
idea I saw in the chat, and I'm going to try to I can't properly source it here. I'm sorry, but like the idea that maybe the first agenda is like 3 or 4 Doom, and we pull a on the steps down the steps of slumber in the steps of slumber, climbing the steps of slumber. The first Dream Eaters scenario where
Right,
there's
yep.
no encounter deck for that, and that is pure clue acquisition and prep for the waves that are to come.
Right. Going back to Nick's example of custom StarCraft games like Sunken Defense and stuff, you always had a couple minutes of just like, okay, go up here, here's the rules, buy your units, put them around. Yeah.
Yes, I like that narrative sort of lead up to it. I guess the scenario that I'm picturing, which that's just in my head, so it's not necessarily what we're doing, but I think if we did that, then I think the final version of it, and that was Thoth who posed that idea in chat.
Yes, thank you.
Thoth said, yeah, explore the island, prepare for siege, hold the line. I think explore the island and prepare for siege need to be relatively short.
Yes.
And hold the line needs to be the
Yes.
meat,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, of the
Agreed.
scenario.
For sure.
Agreed.
And going back to what we talked about, or what I brought up before about how the clues should encourage exploration and going out to gather resources, so to speak. What I'm kind of picturing is sort of like a blob that ate everything kind of setup, where there's a selection of 5 or 6 or however many we want to do, like mini objective cards that maybe every so often you're instructed to reveal the next one, and you reveal it, and it's like, okay, it adds clues to this faraway location. It introduces this unique enemy. You know, it gives us a mini objective that the players can choose to engage with if they want to get those clues, but it requires them to then kind of pivot their strategy or to focus all in on it. You know what I mean? Kind of like
Yeah.
how Blob did that, where if you're already struggling to tread water, you're not going to go after that story asset when it pops up in Blob. But if you're actually sitting okay, or if you're able to pivot well enough, then you're like, oh well, let's go and let's defuse these bombs or whatever. So
Yep, love
Yeah.
it. I love that type of stuff for standalones because it adds so much replayability and variance.
exactly, yeah.
So I think there was this cool mechanic I kind of thought of when I thought of like survive over time, and I really wanted to keep it secret so that people would discover it when they play the game.
That's not too
but
late.
I think but it,
Oh,
it
you already
really
made
just
the call.
builds-
You go.
it builds into what Nick says. So my idea was, so originally I didn't think of what Thoth said, where it's like you have a couple rounds of hold off, or you like planning and stuff. So I was planning just a single agenda card that had like 2 Doom
I was
on it,
literally
2 or 3
thinking
Doom,
that number in my head.
and then
Get out of
when
it.
you flip it over, it's another agenda card, but it's nighttime. And when that advances, you just keep flipping this agenda card. There's not like the text on the back where it's like, flip it back over and remove the Doom. No, it's just a new agenda card. It looks like
So it's a
1A
it's-
side.
Yeah, okay. It's 1A and 2A, but there's no they are each other's backsides.
Yeah, and that's daytime and nighttime. And when you get to the end of 2A, and it's like at the end of before this agenda, or when this agenda would advance, put a resource token on the scenario card thing. If there are 5, proceed to whatever R1. You've now survived 5 days and 5 nights. And so it just keeps on flipping back and forth. But there's
shubbies.
cards that reference whether it's day or night.
So I've been holding this pretty close to my chest. Because as people know, I like to make custom scenarios. And I felt so
What,
good
you?
about this yeah, I know, right? And I felt so good about this idea that I didn't want to share it. Much like how Scott literally just said that.
Yeah.
I was
Literally
about to
just
say,
said
like,
that.
you guys are in the same headspace at the moment.
But I have been toying around. I never got very far, but but I've been toying around with the idea of a standalone scenario that uses day and night cycles. That's about survival, so it's literally just about seeing how long you can last. My thing that I was gonna do was, and this may or may not work for us. Who knows? We'll find out. But it was gonna use 2 different encounter decks, one for the day side, one for the night side. And the scenario card, rather than having standard and hard, would have day and night. And so when it's day, you would have the day side face up, but you would put it on the night deck so that you knew you didn't draw cards from it, and you would draw cards from the day deck then. And then when it flips, which would work in a way similar to you, would be timed with the agenda. It'd be like every 3 doom or whatever. Then you just flip the card over and put it on the other deck, and then you have your night deck that you go with. And the tokens are different, and the threats are different. So
Tia, so when does this just devolve into Minecraft?
Immediately.
Sir, shut up. No, I'm just kidding.
There.
and you gotta collect the diamond tokens, and you bring the diamond tokens to your forge card, and then you use the Yeah, no, all right.
Yeah.
My kids would love it if it were Minecraft. They'd actually engage with it.
So, Nick, the only constructive criticism I'd see with that is making sure cards go into the correct discard pile.
Right.
But
Well, I think how it worked was when you would move it, every time you moved the encounter, the reference card, you would shuffle both discards back into their respective decks.
Right, but I'm saying, like, if you kill if it's like a nighttime enemy, but you kill him during daytime.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, we could have them traded or whatever.
But I was going to say, what if we did something similar to War of the Outer Gods, where the nighttime cards on the front, like the face of the card, was kind of like nighttimey shaded?
I mean,
and also the back was like
that would
there
be
was
awesome.
a daytimey and a nighttimey.
Yeah. I love that idea.
Like pie in the sky. That's really cool.
I love all the ideas that we have had so far. This seems like a really fun scenario that I would love to do.
Yeah.
So
We should play this sometime.
backing up slightly, and I don't think we have to answer it, but I do think it maybe colors design from this point forward. Do we want the tower defense to be a central area in the middle that we're defending from multiple fronts? Or is it like the enemies are streaming out of the forest onto several points at the beach, and we're trying to hold as many beaches as we can to get off, and inward or outward motion from the enemies?
My idea was we're in the middle.
Okay.
And stuff's coming towards us, and you can venture out as far as you want, like the blob map, but you have to stay in the crater, or you want to stay in the crater.
Sure.
I tend to like that idea more just off of first, going with what we've discussed so far.
I was imagining in the middle at first, but here's another option. You have a starting location, of course, but if part of the strategy of the scenario is actually picking where that fortification is going to be, because then that adds to the replay value too, and people figuring out like what's the best location to set up your fortification.
Ooh, okay.
That would be cool.
Okay. I dig it.
I don't know how that would work exactly, but it's an option.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going back. I'm just going back to the theme. Sudden chaos. Is that going to be a lot of our enemy and encounter deck design?
I think so. I think that's the easiest to make it come out. You know what I mean?
And I think
I mean that was kind of what I had in mind. Like when I picked Sudden Chaos, it was just like the world is very dynamic and doesn't always just punch you in the face. Though obviously it's Arkham, so it still regularly punches you in the face.
Right.
And if we do have that deck you mentioned, Scott, of like stuff you can scavenge and find that maybe it's good and maybe it's not, that can play into the Sudden Chaos. Another thing I was picturing too when I was picking the villain and thinking about this whole like possible disease pestilence angle is like treacheries that are kind of almost like the what is it called in the Blob? Like it's got me. I think the one that's like on a timer, puts you on a timer basically.
You got 6 rounds to take care of it.
I was thinking of things like that, but it's instead of just getting destroyed or killed or whatever, it's like infecting you with that disease, and maybe it even turns that investigator into one of the monsters at some point. Basically, I'm saying kind of like zombies, but I like that angle too of while you're trying to protect yourself from the outside, there's also the enemy that can come from within to potentially infect your investigators.
Put a traitor mechanic in.
Is there?
And I'm not even thinking about like
there...
a full traitor mechanic, but just as much as like the different ways your investigators can get worn down.
So okay. So peril and hidden cards, but some of them are peril and hidden cards that force you to add a specific type of token to a specific play area. Okay, so as an example, let's say you stack Doom on your investigator, but it's not counted as Doom, okay? Just to track something.
Yeah.
But it's a peril and hidden card. And some of them represent what you're saying, Ian, where it's like, okay, there's this ticking clock. This card in my hand that I can't talk about has me add a Doom to my investigator at the end of every round. Or no, better yet, you put 5 on when you draw it, and then you remove 1 at the end of every round. And when I remove all of them, something bad happens. And everyone can see that ticking clock, but they don't see the card in your hand. And then some other ones, when you draw it, adds 5 Doom to your investigator or whatever. But those are, at the end of every round, remove 1 Doom. When there's no Doom left, each investigator draws a card. Each investigator gains 3 resources. So then, suddenly, peril hidden, it literally becomes like, oh no, what does he have? It's not like, all right, well, we can figure it out. This guy's, he's not taking the evade.
It's like,
action,
what's going to
so
happen when he pops?
Yeah.
It actually becomes... Yes, exactly. And then I think we need to have a mechanic on a location, on a specific location, or on an agenda or act or something that exists in the scenario, not in the encounter deck, but on the scenario, like the map itself, where multiple players can either pool their resources or their actions. They can work together to force a peril and hidden card out of someone else's hand.
Or also locations that add Doom to investigators.
Sure, or some way for the other players to interact with it, to then play with that idea of, you don't know who has what, you don't know what this is. So we're not going full traitor, but it's still playing. It's that chaotic element of we are going to play with what to expect.
Yeah, I like that. The one thing and not every scenario needs to take like true solo into account, but then I would just try to think about ways we could implement that would still have some like I like the idea enough that maybe we just say like, sorry, true solo, but there may be ways we can think through how to implement that too.
That could even just be like a set of like 8 cards, like its own encounter set. And it's like, are you playing with 3 or more players? Shuffle these in. That sort of thing.
So,
whatever.
One thing I was thinking, Nick, with when you mentioned the side missions of like the Blob, is if we go with the flip-flopping agenda, is when you reveal side 1A, you draw the top card. So every 4 or 5 rounds, maybe 6 rounds, or 4 or 5 rounds, you get a new side mission. So that could be the clock in the game. Like every time the sun rises, you look upon the horizon and there's a new mission to possibly do.
Yeah, I like that.
One thing I thought about this too is, because we're talking about standalone, but also like I want to be able to play this in a campaign as a side mission. Is I think there's 2 ways to play this. If you're in a side mission, you have to survive for 5 days, 5 nights, whatever. If we use that flipping agenda thing, In standalone, you just
Yeah,
How far
how
can
low
you go?
Can you go? Yeah,
how many days and nights can
totally.
you? Right, it's
That's
like
what
how
I
low
was-
can you go?
Design our
Exactly.
own depths of Yath. I'm in.
yeah. Because I was
100%.
gonna say, but just before you brought that up, Scott, that part of that kind of the advancement of the agenda is, I think, the waves, the quote unquote waves, get harder over time with each night. Like, so more stuff will get shuffled
Yes.
into the encounter deck. The enemies will get more difficult, and so that can play into that kind of standalone mode too. Is like eventually you're getting to the point where the waves are just insane and just smashing through you.
When you get to like after night 8 or something, it's like the first encounter card you draw every turn gains surge.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Sean has surge trauma.
My player mode just kicked in. Love it. Oh, okay, so like last time we picked an enemy or treachery to design. We want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, I'll take an enemy one because I saw a couple of things in chat that kind of made me. God, I gotta find it because it gave me an idea for an enemy. It was an enemy that spawns but doesn't gain hunter or something. I'm sorry, whoever who typed it in the chat, you're my muse for this. But some sort of swarm enemy, maybe like pack of goats or something, where initially it spawns at an empty location unless there is another copy of pack of goats in play. And then if there is a pack of goats in play, it spawns in the same location as pack of goats. And once there's like 4 or 5 of them at a location, they now gain like Turbo Hunter, where they can move twice, like that Bayaki. So like they might sit over there on the side of the map, and you're like, oh, there's only 2 goats in that pack. But once it hits 5, they're like, bleat bleat, motherfucker, and they start coming for you.
And it's the kind of enemy where it's like it's a 1/1/1, but
Then it's a 2/2/2 and a 3/3/3.
maybe instead of its spawn rules are like furthest location, its spawn rules would be attached to pack of goats already in play. If no pack of goats already in play, furthest location from all investigators, that sort of thing. So then you're still dealing with one enemy, but it's stacking, and then its text would just be like, pack of goats gets +1 fight, +1 health, and +1 evade for each pack of goats attached to it. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then eventually it just shoots across the map.
Yeah. Like just a running horde of goats.
That's definitely the name of the scenario right there. Too many goats.
Running.
Too many running
Too
goats.
many goats. I like that idea. I like leaning into the ticking clock mechanic, or the ticking clock theme, I guess. I like leaning into that in multiple ways. Like 1, how long can you last? 2, with the peril cards ticking down. 3, with enemies that are doing that sort of thing. That sort of thing.
Okay,
So
so let's design this enemy.
So as we get into designing this enemy, do we think then that we just want to pull swarm in as a keyword? It kind of sounds like we could do some cool things with it.
We very well could.
Yeah. So would it be like a forced action after a doom is added to the agenda, add a swarm card to this enemy?
Or it could be a treachery that like picks an enemy in play and adds a bunch of swarm cards to it.
I think we could totally yes and that in
Yeah.
that I think I like the treachery idea where it's like pick an enemy, it gains swarm 1 per investigator.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking of like,
But
you know,
I think
like
this
it would be like the equivalent of like an enemy spawn point that maybe you need to go address at some point because it's just building up these enemies.
Yeah. I think the goat enemy or like the horde of goats, pack of goats. What's a group of goats called? A bleat of goats.
A bleat of goats.
An inconvenience of goats. I'd love for it to be not its own version of swarming, but we also bring in swarm on other things.
Right.
What? Okay, well, quick Googling says it is a word trip of goats, but I cannot imagine that's actually true.
That
murder of
sounds
goats.
made up.
No, okay. So according to the U.S. Geological Survey, a group of goats is called a tribe or a trip.
Yeah, tribe of
I like
goats.
a tribe of goats.
Yeah, there you go.
Tribal goats.
Love
That's the also a magic deck. So there you go. So this goat, are we going to start at 2/2/2? And then each copy adds +1 to everything?
Well, then you come into then you kind of so here's the thing. If we have this goat that behaves in this way, like this enemy, goat or not, this enemy that behaves in this manner where copies of itself attach to itself.
Yeah.
And then we also have a treachery that adds swarm to an enemy. What happens when that treachery adds swarm to a goat with 3 goats attached to it?
Well, I guess you should have taken care
Goats
of
all
that
the way
goat.
down.
So they're just treated as more
Beforehand.
copies of goat. So then, if that's the case, then that I'm thinking from a design space.
Yeah.
And what's the best way to convey what we want to convey in the fewest amount of words? I think just giving the goat spawn as a swarm card attached to whatever the enemy's name is. You know what I mean? Okay. So what do we want it to be for stats?
Yeah, I mean, we can finesse that.
Right. I kind of like making it like 1-3-1 or something like that, and then having the swarms increase the combat stats, but not necessarily the health. Although nowadays 3 health isn't as big of a problem. Thanks, Nathaniel Joe.
I think the swarms add 1 to everything. Like combat, health, and agility. Because, you can dodge 1 goat, but when there's a pack of 6 goats coming at you, you might have problem dodging them all.
No, totally.
Would you rather fight 10 tiny sized goats?
Yeah. 10 duck-sized goats or 1 goat-sized duck. Yeah. Okay, so 1-3-1.
Well, and
So
here's
if we're
another
talking
thing, too.
swarm enemies that swarm, 3 health is that's a lot.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm thinking they need to be 1 or 2 health tops.
Yeah. If it's swarm, if they're actually individual copies of the same enemy, then I think 1-1-1 would be the best place to start.
Cats from Hell taught us. Cats from Saturn, taught us that.
Yeah. So spawn farthest empty location.
There you go.
And I would even foresee our locations being traded so that we could just say
Sure.
empty outer location or whatever.
Yeah, like 3 different rings or something.
Yep.
When Doom is placed, the agenda, add 1 swarm to this card. We'll figure out the wording later. When this card has 3 or more swarm copies. 3?
Sure.
Well,
3 seems reasonable.
that's a reasonable place to start. Yes.
It gains... I'm just going to write Mega Hunter. And then do we just want doing one damage, 1 horror?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Seems good.
All right.
I
We
worry
can
about...
suss out... Yep.
Yeah, I like the design, but I worry about the number of swarms this thing is going to collect in a short amount of time.
Sure.
If
Well,
it's
and that's
every
the
time.
sort of thing we finesse as we
Totally.
iterate.
Yeah. I mean, it
100%.
starts as a 1-1-1.
Yes, it does. Literally weaker than rats.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I suppose rats do have decent evade, don't they? Let's do a treachery.
Yeah.
Let's do a sudden chaos treachery.
Yes.
So kind of the basic low hanging fruit one that I thought is you pick a location, The treachery could target a specific type of location, like it has to be like a beach location or an interior location, or however we delineate them. And then like it be dynamite from the encounter deck. Like choose an enemy there to take 3 damage, choose an investigator there to take 3 damage, or something like that. And if you manage to work it where there's no investigator there, then it's all upside.
Choose and I'm just going to put like classification.
Yeah.
Location. Each enemy, or
if we're playing with Swarm, each enemy gets really, really powerful. I'd almost say it needs to be just like choose an enemy, it gets some amount of damage.
What if you have to choose 1 per investigator, total targets, and they can be enemy or investigator? Was that too...
that could work. It might get a little granular, but it could work.
okay.
I think it should just be a hard number. I think that'd be easiest. If we're allowing players... Oh gosh, no.
Choose an investigator and an enemy at a location. They take 1 per investigator damage.
Sure.
So the way that I'm reading this sounds like it will be really difficult for this to hit an investigator, because you get to choose one of a number of locations, and you get to choose, so yeah, I don't foresee this being
Well, I think we make the classification one that investigators are far more likely to be at. Like it might just be like the interior ones, or even the main one. Like, sure. and then you get to choose, whether that fires at enemies or not. I feel like we can narrow it down to the point where it actually becomes an interesting choice. But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. Where like,
what about choose an investigator? That investigator takes X damage. Then choose an enemy at the same location as that investigator. That enemy takes X damage.
That's interesting.
So you're like...
You're choosing your sacrifice.
You're like blood magic.
It could also be something that just like straight up targets like the location that has the most bodies, like investigators and creatures, and then
that's what I was
either
thinking.
It's still doing kind of the immediate hit, or it's on more of like a timer, like until the end of a certain turn. Then
that could also hit like the location with all 4 investigators.
What if
which is amazing.
What if it deals an amount of damage that has to be divided as evenly as possible among all targets at that location?
Ooh. Okay.
So it's like...
That's interesting.
Deal 3 per investigator damage divided as evenly as possible among all investigators and enemies at your location.
Ooh, that could knock someone out, though. Because if you're playing 4-player and you have an investigator and 1 enemy at a location, that's 6 each.
7 chaos, baby.
I'm also...
You got soak.
I mean, I'm kind of against just like sudden chaos being fuck you, you're dead. But okay. add peril and make them choose an investigator different than themselves. From Maka.
Oh, that could be a thing.
I mean, I love peril cards, so
yeah. You know what?
Just throwing that keyword on any card is that changes.
Throwing this out there. What if every treachery had peril?
Oh God.
Well, okay.
Is that sudden chaos enough?
That's constant chaos.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I feel like the judicious use of peril could be very well applied here. Particularly if we're looking to fire off on kind of going in the direction of some hidden treacheries. One other encounter design thing that I wanted to mention before we kind of start looking at wrapping it up is I really like the idea of the act having the ability to spend clues to put resources on locations, and then each location uses those resources differently, like we were talking about earlier. Like, you know,
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really
that.
clean way to kind of see that through. So I wanted to mention that before we
Kind of
went
like adding breaches, but in a good way.
yeah, and you
Yeah.
know, some of them might take 3 before you get a good benefit, or some of them you might spend incrementally, or you know, something along those lines. But I feel like as far as kind of making clues still important and adding the element of, you know, buttressing up our defenses, that'd be a really clean way to do it.
Yeah,
Although I do
sure.
still want to have story assets.
I like the idea.
To represent like
Oh,
the
100%,
special
100%.
aspect of
Absolutely.
the fort. Like I love that idea as kind of your generic defense
Yeah.
that they're gonna eat through, and then the story assets can be like the fun random chaos things that you can build.
Fully in on
Yeah,
that.
this isn't an official scenario. We have no card limit.
50 story assets.
We're not stuck. Like
We're making a whole new game.
we talk like we guys, seriously, we talk about how difficult it is building a deck of 30 cards. The hardest part of Excelsior was getting to was getting
believe
down to
it.
78 cards.
believe
Like that was the hardest part. We don't have that
believe
problem here. Like we don't want to
You know-
do too much, but
I would be proud if our scenario ends up being like 112 cards. I just don't
All
even
right.
care.
All right.
Like if that's what it takes to make it
yeah.
like to make it good, you know, like yeah, I blank canvas as far as that goes. Because I remember with Consternation, we did say, okay, how many are normally in a pack, and then we limited ourselves based on the place we printed it, and we're like, okay, here's the right size or whatever. I don't want to have that limitation. Obviously, I'm being like a little facetious with like, you know, don't go 200 cards or anything, but
Right.
if this thing hits 80 or 90 cards, I think I'm okay with that.
We can
If
make
that's
it
what
robust, and it's pretty okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not just for the sake of making a 90 card scenario.
Except it might be a little bit.
You say that like 90 is hard to get to. It's not.
Can do that in my
90 is
sleep.
really easy to get to, guys.
Just put in
Oh, I
all
know.
the encounter cards you might want to include, and then you chip away until you get down to.
Exactly.
Yeah, that
Awesome.
sounds
I'm
fun.
excited for this. This is awesome.
Well, I don't have a snappy name for this one. Anyone else got any ideas, or should that be TBD?
We don't have to name it now. We can name it later.
Do we though?
We don't have to name it now. Consternation on the Constellation 2.
Consternation harder. All right.
Okay, Lost, the card game.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Lost Season 1, the card game.
Yoshi's Island.
It's not go. Yeah, there we go. I like that. Escape from Monkey Island.
Arkham Tropical Vacation.
Madagascar. But not.
3.
Suddenly chaos bag.
Oh,
I'm just saying words at this point.
Left for Dead.
Dudes, like this, I'm getting very, very, very similar feelings at the end of this brainstorming session as I had at the end of our
Agreed.
Consternation one.
It's like, let's build it now.
And at that point, we didn't. Yeah, I was about to say. At that point, we didn't even have any real intent to actually build the thing.
Yeah, like that episode was just us, like, someone asked, like, how would you guys build a scenario? We're like, oh, this is probably how we do it. And then I remember, like, a week later, you're like, guys, what if for Gen Con we built that scenario? Like,
What
there
if
was
we just
no...
had it?
Yeah.
What if this thing we thought about came true?
It just existed suddenly and without any great effort.
A tribe called Goat.
That's a legit band name, though. Like that's
I'm into
Oh,
it.
God.
Well, so as mentioned, we haven't quite hit the Patreon stretch goal to start actually working on this, so we're not committing to any timeline. But again, if you enjoyed Consternation on the Constellation, you're a listener who maybe has been on the bubble about hopping on our Patreon. Now's a decent time with Dissonant Voices getting up to date and pushing us toward this goal. If you want to see this be a thing like we do, just take a look. We offer some cool stuff to our patrons, and we love y'all. So, guys, then let's round it up with a little bit of technical time. Scott, how have you been moving?
Well, I've been, moving. So, a couple things. For Christmas, my darling wife, who also loves the Marvel card game, Sean. Yeah, Sean, you knew about this.
I did.
Slightly.
I wish I could say I helped in any meaningful way, but I really just cheered on because I don't know Marvel like I did Arkham.
So, my wife made me a custom Marvel hero with the 15 card pack, like that the heroes have, of me. So there's me, and then there's Super
with
Sage
custom commissioned
on the back.
art.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And one of my favorite cards, it's a cancellation card. And it's just a picture, like a cartoon picture of a hand with a finger up, and it's called Nope. And the flavor text is Nope, 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 nope. And
love it.
so I mean, she made commissioned art of me and as a hero, and then she is my signature ally. The signature location or support or whatever is my parents' house, where we often go to relax because they the kids go play with my parents and whatever. And there's just a bunch of, and she actually months and months ago, she's like, if you were a superhero, what would your superhero power be? And based off of my answer, she designed it. So that was super awesome. So I've been playing some Marvel.
Have you played with yourself?
Yep, playing with myself. But my wife's there. She's watching, so it's okay.
Of course. Well, you don't want to be weird.
Yeah, she's also there playing. Let's see. My wife also has a podcast now called All Around Science. She is a science educator by trade, and so if you're interested in science stuff, it's quite interesting. I'm not just saying that as her husband, but
Guys, if
all around
there's any
science.
year to get hard into science, it's the year after 2020.
Yeah, and they cover, it's kind of like a weekly news show of all the cool science stuff that's happening. Super interesting. Lastly, while I'm at work, I've been digging Slay the Spire, which is a roguelite, whatever that term is.
Yes.
Card game where you climb a tower and you kill these guys, and it's a card-based, kind of like I want to say, almost call it like Dominion. Like you start with 10 basic cards in your deck, and as you go through the levels and defeat guys, you can add cards to your deck, you can take them out, you can upgrade them, all this stuff, and it gets progressively harder. And it is. I mean, there's so many people that love this game, and it's
I was about to
received
say,
many
I've heard
awards.
many mentions of it.
Oh, it is.
What's kind of the theme of it? Is it fantasy?
Yeah, fantasy.
Scott's theme?
Yeah.
What was the theme?
Cards?
No, I had to kind of think because it's a medium fantasy. It's not
Okay.
high fantasy.
Okay.
It's not low. But it's got an app for the phone, which is how I play it.
Wonderful.
It's like $12 or something, but it's worth it. I know, to me, $12 is less than what a Mythos pack costs, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll buy those any day of the week. But it's like $12
For a phone
an
app.
hey?
Yeah, that seems like...
Man, what a difference
Hang on,
the
this costs more than
marketplace
a
makes.
buck.
Yeah. $3, hey? Anyways.
But being the grumpy old man and constantly saying just give me a game that's complete for $60 and I'll give you my $60, and can that just be it, please?
Yeah.
If it's a game I'll play, $12 is fine.
I have hundreds of hours into this game
Nice.
from a $12. It's fantastic.
And he just got it 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. No, I've been playing for 6 months, 7 months.
Okay.
And it's a great work game too, because you can literally like, if you just need to stop, it's turn based. Like you just turn off your phone and then you come back to it. It's fantastic.
Excellent. I'll have to check that out finally, especially now that I know it's on mobile.
Fantastic.
Ian, how about you?
Well, Sean knows what I'm going to say, and pretty much any bit of my free time that hasn't been taken up by Arkham has been Dragon Age Inquisition, and more Inquisition.
Yeah, you've been making very steady
Yeah,
progress.
I've been playing the heck out of it. I'm sure I've talked about it in past Tentacle times when I've tried to play Inquisition before. I've made 2 past attempts, one when it first came out and one probably a couple years ago, and it just didn't stick. And this is despite Dragon Age being one of my favorite video game series. Dragon Age Origins is like in like probably my top 5 or top 3 of video games of all time for me. So I say that to say it was weird that Inquisition never stuck with me, because I love that world. It's also one of my favorite fantasy worlds. I think it's really well done. But the switch to kind of more of a open world model in Inquisition, I think, is what kind of stuck me a little bit. And it's not really even like a true open world like some other games. It's more like very, very, very big hubs.
Yeah, and that game
Curated open world.
Yeah, kind of. That game does not do a great job of explaining its systems to you. It kind of blasts you in the
Yes.
face all at once with lots of different things and just lets you figure it out. And then its first main area is also a trap for
is.
completionists. So if you're a completionist, you will fall into
which
it.
is
I did.
exactly, that's the place where my first 2 playthroughs fell into the hole, the hinterlands hole, because like I think a lot of us who play these type of games, and I'm definitely in the completionist camp, we've been trained over so many years that when you get to an area, you just explore the map and complete every side quest you see before you move on and kind of complete the next main story quest. Like that's how I tend to approach these games, and both you and Justin were like, no, don't do that. Don't do that, because it's a big area. And so I think taking that advice definitely helped. And once I kind of got stuck in, then I'm like well and truly addicted. And although Inquisition, I think, from what I remember, got some stick, it wasn't quite as well received as Origins, maybe a little better received than DA2.
I was about to say, nothing has been as well received as Origins. Everyone got to be really super purist about it in the series for some reason.
And Origins is still probably going to end up being my favorite, but I am loving Inquisition. And what?
But Ian, you can make your armor metal purple.
I do love the crafting. The crafting is great, and I say that as someone, I tend in RPGs and modern RPGs when they have all this like potion brewing and crafting, I'm like, I don't want to spend time doing that and gathering materials. I just want to play this story. But this is one where I'm actually taking time to gather materials and craft, so that speaks to it. But in some ways, although they're very different games, it reminds me of Andromeda somewhat, and how Andromeda was received lukewarm in the sense that whereas past games in both those series were like, here's the story, like here's the driving plot, like, you know, make it happen, follow the plot. I'm not saying they're railroaded games, but just like it's more of kind of momentum to the plot, where both Andromeda and Inquisition is more like you're building up this this power base and trying to build up your resources, and it's kind of a different model of the game, and I kind of wonder if that's what turned some people off to it. Like I like that approach. It's something different, but it just kind of creates a different pace to the game, I think.
Also, I'm willing to blame the constant hype machine that is the video games industry nowadays a little bit.
Yeah, and also because I'm such firmly back on a Dragon Age kick again, I also finally picked up the Dragon Age RPG book, and there's There's lots of fun stuff in there. I could go down a whole big rabbit hole. I don't want to take up too much more time, but there's fun systems like where you can dabble in blood magic and substitute deal damage to yourself or allies instead of spending mana points, which is a cool implementation of that system. So there's fun stuff in there.
Yeah. And just because I can't ignore a conversation about this game, Ian, you found my wife.
Yes, and I took a screenshot and shared it with you. Unfortunately, I missed your body because I was I didn't realize it was that quest until it was too late, but at least I got one screenshot out of it.
But hey, you found my wedding ring, so...
I did.
Thanks for that.
I did, and returned it.
Yeah.
And I was very nice about it.
I'm apparently just a skeleton, actually, in a shallow grave or something, but yeah.
Sounds about right. Excellent. Nick, how about you?
Rime of the Frost Maiden. That sounded like a lead up. It wasn't. I was struggling to remember what I was
Rime of the Frost Maiden!
No, okay. We stream Rime of the Frost Maiden, Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign every Tuesday, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/Nicholas Corey. I highly, highly encourage, and I also humbly request that you all come and watch, participate in chat, enjoy it. And if you can't make the live shows, that's fine. You can also catch the VODs on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Nick Corey. I think it's just Nick Corey. I should probably change it to Nicholas Corey so it matches. Last session, 2 sessions ago, we had a couple of important plot points. Well, really one important plot point kind of come up in front of the characters. And one of the players was like, do we split the party? And that was a real discussion that we had, which resulted in, yes, we are going to split the party. So last session we had an in-character sort of like RP moment leading up to the split, and then we played some sidekicks for a little while. This coming session, this coming Tuesday, will be the first of our 2 splits, so we'll have 3 of the players instead of all 6. And they will be going to talk to some Goliaths about borrowing some griffins so that they can fly away on griffins. And then the session after that, we'll see the other 3 characters going to a tribe of nomads to dethrone their king, who is forcing the tribe into, well, quote-unquote forcing the tribe into cannibalism. So all kinds of fun stuff going on over at Rime of the Frost, over at my Twitch channel with our Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign. It's super fun. It involves people from this very Discord. It involves Ian. Ian is one of the players, as I've said the last probably 4 or 5 weeks. So you guys know this already, but I'm going to say it again because Ian's great. They're all great. All the players are awesome. It's a lot of fun, and I think that you should come watch.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
I also watch it a lot, and I'm very entertained when I do.
Thank you, Scott. I do appreciate seeing you in chat.
Excellent.
I'm usually listening to it while I'm playing. Slay the Spire.
The connections.
Yeah.
And all the pieces come around like an Ouroboros. So then I suppose for my part, a couple things I wanted to give a quick up. Scott, since you mentioned like expensive mobile games that are totally worth it. Knights of the Old Republic 2 is out on Android and mobile, and like a game that I needed a super good gaming PC to play in 2004 or 5. When did that come out? I can now carry around on my phone.
2006?
6?
5?
Okay, all right.
I was in university.
I feel like 6 was Jade Empire. Oh yeah, but that wasn't BioWare. It was Obsidian. All right. Anyway, it came out a long time ago, and you can play it on your phone now, and it's a very, very unique take on the Star Wars mythos.
Some would argue the best take.
I'm fucking in before Nick did it.
It is the best take. I will fight anybody on that. Also, Sean, the mobile version, you can get the restored content mod, which doesn't fix all of the holes, but it fixes a good number of them.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We'll have to talk about that. I didn't know that was a thing. Sorry, you said on the PC one or not?
No,
not the mobile
on
one?
the phone.
Damn.
apparently I haven't researched it, but you can. It does support restored content mod, and as anybody who is familiar with KOTOR 2 knows, there was a lot of very important content that was cut from that game at the last second because it just wasn't deemed finished enough. They just ran out of time. They literally had like 9 months, I think, to make this game. And the fact that they slapped it together and it was still as good as it was is amazing. But there's a lot of very important stuff that isn't in the release. There you go. Justin, Administrative Answer, working his magic, showing, giving us a link there in chat. So
that means I literally just have to go get the mod and put it into my file structure. Is that how that? Well, I'll read up on this and report back. But anyway, I haven't had a computer that will run this in the last decade. So I've been having a really good time actually playing this again, because like KOTOR 1, I know backwards and forward. I've played through it so many damn times. Like, it's just nostalgia when I go back and play it now. But KOTOR 2, there's a lot of shit I've forgotten. It's really cool to actually rediscover it now. So that's been fun. Also, Ghost of Tsushima. I dived back into the single player and I'm enjoying it again. I kind of fell off the wagon because so often when I'm playing a Souls game and then another action game at the same time, they fight each other for my muscle memory. So I end up abandoning one until I finish the other. So finished Dark Souls 3, got back into Ghost of Tsushima. Single player is really fun, but I have been having so much fun with the multiplayer. Justin and I have played a lot of the multiplayer, and then we've got a few other people in it. Hopefully we'll round Ian up for something, and then eventually we might play a game together. But it's structured with like 4 different classes, and it's either survival where there's 3 different capture points with hordes of enemies coming in and you have to defend the capture points, or there's 2-player story missions where they set up these basically scenarios where it's kind of encouraging you to do stealth, and there's kind of combat puzzles with the enemies where, you know, the first one it sets up is there's paired enemies where if you don't kill them within very quick succession, they'll revive each other. So you have to work in tandem to dispatch them properly. Yeah, Thoth mentioned there's a raid in it. There's gear. Like, for a free update that no one asked for and no one expected, it's amazingly fun. And playing the multiplayer has actually got me far more interested in playing the single player than just the single player did. So yeah, can't prop it enough. It's really, really good. So yeah, that's me. Well, guys, it's almost midnight where I'm at, so let's wrap this sucker up. Thanks everyone for joining us. Don't forget hotline for next episode, which is the most versatile class, or comment question of your choice, 203-493-6984. Otherwise, thanks everyone for joining us for episode 97. We'll see you next time.
Bye.